All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the webinar today about the SBA PPP loan program. Looking forward to going through this with everyone. Just as a quick item, you feel free to send any chat questions, as this is a webinar style with multiple different banks on the line. So looking forward to jumping in hands-on as much as we can here into the product. I know this is an urgent need for many of you guys as your SBA programs with your small business clients. You may have already received many applications, and we're certainly going to talk about how we can help you if you've already gotten some of those PDF applications, but also proactively if you can start digitizing those and what you can do with ProcessMaker to do that. So with no further ado, I'm just going to briefly go through a couple high-level highlights of ProcessMaker, only about 2 minutes or so, and then we'll spend the vast majority of the time in the product, and we'll talk through kind of how it's being implemented for the SBA program and what to expect, and certainly spend plenty of time for Q&A at the end. So who's ProcessMaker? We've been around about 20 years, and we've been helping community banks and credit unions for about the last decade or so. Primarily, we help with things like loan origination, whether it's retail, mortgage, commercial, account opening, automation, workflows, treasury service origination, things like that. In light of what's happening obviously in the world, and in particular with the SBA loan program, we've had a lot of clients reaching out who wanted to have automation built out for this particular kind of window of time. So that's a little bit about ProcessMaker. We are a global company, but service many community banks and credit unions like yourself. In terms of the platform, it is a platform, again, that handles all kinds of different solutions for banks. It is a web-based platform, so you can access anywhere, especially critical in these times, of course. From day one, we've been architected so that it is based on an internet browser and hosted over the internet. In terms of the platform itself, we have built out a solution for the SBA program here that's out of the box, although it is highly configurable, as we recognize that every bank and credit union here is going to have slightly different internal policies. So even though it's going to meet the regulatory guidance, the interim guidance put out by the SBA, as well as make sure that it's a fully digital and automated solution, you as an institution can still kind of drag and drop and make changes as you'd like, both to the workflow, which we'll look at hands-on here in a moment, as well as any of the forms that you're capturing the data on. So that's a very high-level overview of ProcessMaker. And now, with no further ado, we're going to jump into the product. So let me close that. So first, just to give you an idea of ProcessMaker, I'll spend about 2 minutes just orienting you to the platform, and then we'll go hands-on into the PPP process that we've built out. So what you can see here is I'm logged in currently as an administrator, and I have access to kind of everything in the platform, but everything is permission-based. So loan officers or loan operations or management would all have different views and different dashboards that they'd be able to log into and kind of see what's important and relevant to them. In particular, on the left, you'll see there's a navigation bar. And again, this is configurable to the role. So I'm currently logged in as a commercial loan officer, where I can initiate whether it's a commercial account opening, treasury management, or SBA loans. You'll see, for example, I'm going to come in and look at what I have in the queue, so I can drill down to specific lists and drill down from there into particular applications, check statuses, see who's doing what, when, and how. I can easily search for various different customers, etc. In addition, I can start new requests. So again, as we help many community banks with things like account opening or loan origination, this would just be part of the rest of the platform. But you'll notice here, I can start a new workflow with the application process for the SBA program. Now, in particular, though, I think it'll be helpful to see the workflow first. So then as we go through it live, hands-on, you'll understand kind of where we're at and who's doing what. So I'm going to go to the process model now. And this is the back end where I would be logged in more as an administrator. This is going to be a combination of ProcessMaker's solution engineering team and yourself to help tailor this or configure it to your particular needs. But what happens here is you'll see it's all drag and drop. So if I, for example, need to make a modification to how I want it to flow for my particular institution, I can simply drag a task in. I can rename it. Maybe this is, second approval because I need 2 of them, and simply connect that as part of the flow where I need it to be. So it's all very simple drag and drop. And as you build this workflow, it automatically re-engineers the entire process for you and automates that. What we're going to go through today, though, what you'll see that we have built out of the box, we have a client-facing portal that you can easily hook into your existing website. So you can make these online applications if you'd like. And that will then go through a rules engine. The rules engine is then automatically going to route it either to a loan officer to review, and then based off of your business rules that you may want to deploy, you can set up auto reject or auto approve. And that again is going to be a bank specific decision, but it's built out in order to accommodate that. You'll also note that out of the box, it's set up so that a loan officer can initiate this internally and then send it via a web portal securely to the client, who can review and finalize, upload documentation, and then send it back to the loan officer, ultimately escalating it then to a senior lender in this particular case, but that could be really any role within the institution. Very easy to configure. For example, maybe this is instead the chief, if I can type properly, chief credit officer who has to approve these. Really very easy to make modifications to anything in this flow. And you'll see how it automates that in just a moment. Now, one of the other things to point out is not every task has to be a form that gets filled out. Some things you may want to do via tools you already use, like email. So we have a lot of our executives at clients who don't want to have to learn a new software. They don't have to want to learn how to navigate it, how to approve, how to come in and see things. So we can actually send all of this information in email directly. So as the application comes through, all of the information would go into an email, and the executive can simply approve, decline, send back, it's whatever actions they need to take in their email directly. And then of course it would go to the SBA through a connector with their E-Trans system. So it's going to digitally board. So that's going to be the workflow that we're going to go through. And I'm going to showcase kind of quickly how it can be linked into your current website, and then we'll run through it as if I'm a loan officer. So I have a fake bank website here, and you'll see, for example, let's say this is your website, and you add a new place for this SBA loan relief application. What you're going to note is that our web form, the application that ProcessMaker is hosting, is embedded very easily, just one setup with your IT team, and you're up and off to the races. And this allows your client then, or prospective client, to fill out the application directly here, upload any documentation as they see fit. It's all built for mobile as well. So if they need to do all this off of an iPad or an iPhone, it's all going to work kind of seamlessly in that perspective. So what would happen then as these prospective customers or customers fill out these applications, they would then start workflows and notify the appropriate loan officer who needs to take these and process them. But for the rest of the demo, what I'm going to do is showcase this more from the loan officer's perspective. So instead of showing it from the client side, I'm going to start with the loan officer. And again, I'm just going to quickly start a loan process here. And what you're going to see is that we have our first kind of application. And the loan officer has really 4 easy tabs. They initiate it, they fill out business information, personal information, and then they finalize. So what we're going to do is start off by initiating this. It asks all the questions relevant based off of the SBA's guidance. So I'm going to pick, are you a business less than 500 employees? Yep. And as I start typing in the average payroll costs per month, you'll see it automatically calculates the loan amount, as of course that's based off of the guidance 2.5 times the average monthly payroll costs. And what are the purpose or sources and uses, payroll, rent, mortgage, etc., all of the allowable reasons to take out this type of loan. The other questions, of course, are going to then disqualify applicants. These are things that the SBA's put out there that are then going to automatically route things accordingly. If you'd like, what they can do is automatically send out a declination or not allow the customer to even advance further. Again, that's going to be a configuration you set up, whether you want it to continue and still talk to the client or whether you just want to outright reject it, kind of your decision. And then the loan officer, say, is going to fill out some of the information. They can begin to fill it out, some or all of it. They can still allow the client to fill out some of it themselves. And again, just really filling it out based off of what the SBA has put out there from guidance. One of the other aspects of our solution is that it's configured to kind of know based off of certain questions how other questions should be filled out. So for example, is the applicant a franchise? As part of the guidance, if it's a franchise operation, instead of total number of employees being less than 500, it's actually less than 500 per location. Alternatively, if they say no, you'll notice it's just number of employees. You'll also note it captures all the financial information. Again, this is the minimum required information by the SBA. By credit policy, you may ask for more, although there is full loan forgiveness on these loans and 100% guaranteed, and no need by the SBA, no need for a personal guarantee nor collateral as part of this program. So it really allows you to certainly decide as a business policy, credit policy, what you'd like to do here. At that point, it's then filling out, business owner information. If it's owned by outside parties, this is one of the areas that certainly you're going to want to take into consideration no matter how you determine to do the solution. But from a business side, the SBA is still going to require KYC done on any of the outside entities that are ownership. So for example, if they have 4 or 5 different affiliated businesses that all have ownership stake, you're going to have to do full KYC on all of those. And it just really will make the process a lot more challenging. So that may be a business decision you make where you may or may not allow those types of requests. And as I continue to fill out the number of owners, you'll see, of course, I can add additional owners. And then finally, fill out the last few items, again, based off of what the SBA's guidance is. The last area where it's actually a great benefit from the SBA, I think this is certainly due to some of the crazy times that we're in right now, you as an institution are allowed to fill this out on behalf of your client. So with many people, myself included, working from home right now, some of us, myself included, having little kids, and if you hear them in the background running around screaming, you'll know what it is. But the reality is some of your customers may or may not have easy access to fill out these applications on their own behalf. So the loan officer can do this, send it directly to the client then via secure portal. Now for today's demo, I'm not going to sign in as the customer. I'm just going to go straight forward. But the customer would then sign in. They'd see all the information filled out on their behalf, but also be able to provide additional documentation. So one of the requirements, of course, is to show documentation on payroll. So the customer can then upload files and to provide that documentation. They can continue kind of through the application, verify everything's good, make sure that everything that they have kind of filled out properly. And then one of the other aspects, of course, that many people are going to want is probably funding information, especially due to the urgent nature of a lot of these requests. So capturing kind of if it's not your institution, another bank where they're going to be funding this money. And then all of the terms and conditions provided by the SBA, including any additional statements that they may need to read, makes it very easy for the borrower or potential borrower to know everything and sign off on it digitally and simply submit that. So after it's been submitted by the client, all of these notifications are going to happen in real time, and we'll show that here in a moment. But the loan officer then would get the portal back and be able to review the information. make sure everything's signed off on correctly, all of it's filled out, and then submit that for approval. At this point, what you're going to see is then what we like to call, again, actions by email. So as I mentioned, maybe an executive doesn't want to have to log in. They can actually see all of the loan request information right here and simply approve, reject, or request more information from the loan officer without having to log into a new system. So all of this happens kind of without having to learn ProcessMaker. The only parties really from your institution that would have to start learning this would be loan officers or processors or operations, whoever kind of you have managing this process. So that hopefully gives you an idea of the workflow. I'll come back to kind of that workflow. Again, now maybe this model makes more sense. If instead I don't want to do it this way, I can change how I want to route things. So maybe instead I want to have a second level of approval and then a third level of approval. It's really as simple as just connecting the dots. And the other aspect to this, though, is that all of those forms they had to fill out are also drag and drop. So for example, let's say I start looking up a form here, and the form is the SBA loan assistance. You'll notice that each of these tasks is then tied to those web forms. So if I open up that web form here, what you'll see is this is the form builder. Very easy, again, drag and drop. So instead of designing it the way it is built for us, if you want to reimagine it a bit because you have specific requirements as a credit department or someone like that, maybe you want to know, I don't know, more information, you want to know their EBITDA, and I want to make this a currency field. It's very easy to add that into the web form here, and now I can preview that and see I now have a field with EBITDA put right in there into the web form. So all of this is very configurable, and what we'll do is talk a little bit about how we help you implement in just a moment. But let me go back kind of to the queue and talk a little bit about how we're also helping kind of in the tracking of everything. You'll notice, for example, we have these queues where the loan officers will then see due dates, if there are any service level agreements where you're wanting to get these, of course, turned around very rapidly. Not only can they then see this in their queue and search and sort, but they also can forward that to another person very easily via email. You can also schedule these. So one of the things I'm hearing from a lot of my clients right now is, especially due to the nature of this, they want to have a reminder sent every single morning so that the loan officers know exactly what's happening and see a list of all applicants, say, the night before. You know, and just as an example, Wells Fargo has already closed out their SBA PPP program, as they've already lent out $10 billion to small businesses now under this program. So they've actually closed their program entirely. So the reason I point that out is that happened Sunday evening. So all weekend long, their borrowers and prospective borrowers were applying. So what we've done is built in kind of a scheduler that automatically reminds loan officers that they may or may not need to apply for credit. So the other aspect that we're going to want to see, of course, is that it's not just about you know, recurring reminders. We may want these real-time alerts. So for example, you'll see I can enable notifications. That's going to set up real-time alerts for anything that comes into this process. So there's a little notification bell. So if I open up or start a new process here, again, what's going to happen is that's going to go into that queue, and the particular party responsible is going to get notified kind of in real time for any of these requests that are part of the program. So that hopefully gives everyone a good idea of the platform. Certainly we have all kinds of other processes that we help institutions with, but obviously the urgent need is going to be this SBA program. So with that said, though, what I do want to do is go back here to the process model and talk a little bit about what implementation looks like. So we have a team, as I mentioned, of solution engineers who are here to support you guys as you want to configure in any changes for your particular bank's policies and procedures. Obviously, it is off the shelf and out of the box, but as you may need different approval levels or different people internally at the bank who are making these decisions, you can certainly do that. The other aspect is then going to be, what happens with all of the applications we may have taken. So I've talked to many clients who have already taken, hundreds of PDF applications. So the SBA, for example, has provided a PDF application here for a number of days off of their website. This may look familiar to some of you guys, but it's a simple, Paycheck Protection Program application form. So what if you've already taken all these forms? Are you going to have to re-enter the data? What ProcessMaker has been kind of building out as well at the same time, we have OCR capabilities. And OCR stands for Optical Character Recognition. And basically what that does is it scans things like PDFs and converts text into digital form. So what we can do is help you guys process all of these PDF applications and extract all the data from them and put them into the system. Now, of course, the caveat is going to be if it's if it's typed up as opposed to handwritten. If it's handwritten, unfortunately, just the technology out there is just not strong enough to interpret every single person's different handwriting and whatnot. But it will certainly help if you have hundreds of those kind of in the queue. The other aspect about implementation, of course, is then setting it up to automatically board to the SBA via their E-Tran program. Now, unfortunately, as I've heard even over the weekend, the SBA's had some challenges with that, probably due to a lot of the volume as well as the challenge that all of this is, speed has been providing. But with that said, we are committed to making sure that we work through any of those challenges. Certainly the SBA has been responsive so far, and we're going to make sure that we help support you during these times. So with that said, hopefully that gives you a good overview of ProcessMaker's SBA loan relief program and gives you an idea of how we can help you during this time. Certainly now, with no further ado, we'll open up for questions and look forward to speaking with any of you individually if you'd like to reach out after the call. So feel free to chat in the Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom. There's a little Q&A section, and then we can certainly open it up for questions. Right, I see one question coming in. What kind of timeline is it going to take for ProcessMaker to get us implemented? Very good question. So right now, ProcessMaker is committed to getting this implemented in terms of the workflow and the automation component within 48 hours for your institution, of course, upon signing with us. That said, there is still the component with the boarding to the SBA that we'll have to set up and configure. That piece, unfortunately, is contingent on the SBA side as well. So, but from the ProcessMaker side, we are getting clients stood up within 48 hours. What other questions come to mind? Oh, there's one question about, I like what I see, but I want to be able to use this obviously urgently for SBA, but I would love to learn more about ProcessMaker with the account opening. In particular, it looks like the client, this particular bank, is looking for a commercial account opening solution and asked if we have that. The short answer is yes, absolutely. We have a commercial account opening solution. We'd be happy to talk offline. But for anybody else, ProcessMaker does have other solutions as well. So if you have other needs and you'd like to explore those, feel free to reach out to a sales rep after the call. With that said, I want to make sure that we keep this to a short time, as we know you guys are urgently scrambling, as well as many of us here now with this SBA guidance just being released and trying to get decisions made and whatnot. So thank you so much for your time, and we will be in touch with you shortly. Thank you so much.